Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. The chat is open. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you would, and please don't use the Q&A section. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me open this up. Chat, enable chat. Here we go. All right. If you can let me know you can see and hear me okay, that would be great. Cameron, greetings from Tennessee. Greetings to you, Cameron. Just give me a heads up, guys. Then I'm going to shut down. I do this every time, I know. A lot of you guys are veterans here. Loud and clear, Kenneth. Good. I'm going to shut this down for a second. Thank you, Chris. Can see and hear you. I'm going to shut down chat for just a minute. It's on private. I'll address all of them. We'll also highlight them to everyone as I go through them. There's also a file available you can download. That's the overview for those of you guys that are brand new to us. Goes into a lot of detail on the products that are available. I believe it also has, besides the Insider's Guide portion, even more information on there. And let me go to, somebody's requested to speak. With that, guys, I'm going to have you use chat when I bring it back up. A couple things, mailbag type of stuff I need to cover real quick. First of all, the average surplus funds retrieval. I've been talking recently about how it jumped up the last couple of months from like 25 grand to 45. I'm not exaggerating. It's closer to 65. We put 2 more under contract over $100,000 just this past week, which is fantastic. I appreciate everybody bearing with us. Our crew was here all the way through the last week. I was on a trip, but I really appreciate all the new guys that have come on board and they're working really, really hard. That, of course, is going to pay off. Mike V, if you're here, we got the check in for Carricker, $64,000. Mike was using the Premier 16 program on that. $10,240 will be going out to him very shortly. Probably, hopefully by Tuesday, Wednesday. We've got an issue with we have to deposit it first, obviously, and Monday is a holiday, right? Eric K, if you're out there and listening, we got 2 more under contract for you. There's a lot going on, guys, so it's very exciting on the surplus side. The deed flip, I need to reiterate something we've said before on the flipping side, and that is, guys, don't, just like with the surplus, but don't try to hit home runs, okay? Base hits is where it's at. On the deed flip, we like the lower dollar stuff. It's way easier to sell for cash in a matter of weeks, and of course, it's way easier to buy it that way. So that's important. You guys understand that it's a meter drop. In other words, it's a matter of volume on the deed flip. But our average deal is around 30 right now. The deals I've got lined up, I'm thinking that's going to jack up to closer to 45 or 50. Really quickly, too, I know a lot of you guys, or I'm about to put a video up tomorrow about this, but I know a lot of you guys are seeing the gloom and doom about the real estate market. And this has been going on for the last year because nobody can believe it's still going as well as it is, especially with the rates coming up. However, there's a couple things being overlooked, okay? The main one is it's still a supply and demand issue. It's that simple. The demand is there, and rents are rising so high that even if it's costing more for the property and therefore the mortgage is higher, you're still doing better than you would with rent. The other thing is the most recent article I saw was saying, hey, we've got a bubble because new construction sales for last month in April were lower than projected. It was 500 and I believe 9,000 units instead of the projected 719. Let me tell you what's going on with that. A lot of the builders have put off, they're holding and they've put off building as long as they can to take advantage of any drops in material pricing. Okay, same thing with contractor pricing. I'll give you an example. There's a community right next to mine, brand new community, about 40 homes going in. Neighbor of mine bought over there. He sold his current home, bought over there. It was supposed to be ready no later than June 1st. It is still not ready. They've got a couple going into framing right now. All of a sudden, they're going gangbusters because they started to see the costs they wanted to see. So don't get caught up in just one little variable, one little factor when you look at the market. I do see appreciation slowing down, so there'll be appreciation, but at a much lower pace. However, that's still going to continue. The demand is still there. Okay. As far as the effect of this on surplus funds and on flipping, obviously the flipping side is a little more competitive, but because we're going for the low-hanging fruit, we're dumpster diving basically. That's how we don't worry about competition in a superheated market like this. Okay. That's again why I pushed that earlier. The other item to talk about is the surplus funds. That is going to continue. We're going to see a lot of that. And I think you guys are going to be surprised what happens over the next 2 years. Even if appreciation went to a standstill, we're going to see a lot of foreclosures, particularly in the tax deed arena, because tax values are going to go up dramatically, right? They're going to start reflecting the actual value over the next few months as counties reappraise or reevaluate the property. You're going to see a much higher appreciate or not appreciation, but value for taxes. Therefore, your taxes on the properties are going to go up dramatically, and you're going to see a lot of people that's going to put a hurting on. We're talking about, putting anywhere from 1 to 2 car payments of additional tax against a house. That's a lot of money, especially when we're looking at $4 a gallon for gas, and everything else is more expensive. So I don't see a slowdown in foreclosures at all. All right, let me open up the comments and we can start to take questions. I'm going to enable chat. All messages are private. There we go. Guys, this is live. It's for you. So fire away with all the questions you got. Remember, please, you've got a file handout you can download. Please go ahead and download that file if you haven't already. The file handout, it goes into a lot of information. You can also find that at surplusfundsriches.net, and especially on the products page. If you click on products, it will have you enter your name, email, and phone. Once you do that, and guys, you can unsubscribe at any time. It'll drop you on the products page. And once it drops you on the products page, at the bottom is the insider's guide, which goes into detail on all of our programs. So chat should be open. Let's see. It is. And again, please don't use the Q&A part. Use the chat part if you would. Any and all questions are welcome. And by the way, I'm not against, if somebody disagrees with me as far as the appreciation that's going to happen in the next couple of years, please let me know. Have you set a date for Elite Inner Circle? Chris, I think you mean, have I set a date for the boot camp for time flipping? I'm hoping that's what you meant. And if that's the case, open the resources page with your book and just see what's going on right there. Coming up quick. Kenneth, how long do you attempt to make contact with surplus funds recipients before you assume nothing is going to bear fruit? All right, so Kenneth, here's what we do. We've got a really fast rotation the first week. In fact, when you turn it in, and Cameron says looking to submit first file Tuesday. Great, Cameron. But Kenneth, here's the deal. The day you turn it in, 9 times out of 10, if not, it'll be the next day, but 9 times out of 10, the mailing is going out and the calls are being made. When I say the mailing's going out, I'm talking about mailings going out to the claimant and all their potential relatives and associates. It's ridiculous how much postage we go through and postcards we go through, okay? In addition to that, of course, we skip trace at that point, and we run a 4-month rotation at that point. At the end of 4 months, we send a secondary takeaway letter, which makes the phones ring like crazy, and we also give it a break for about anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, and then do a complete repull on all skip tracing and start the process again. We have gone in the past as far as a year and a half, usually a year is about right. And each year we purge from anything over about a year previous. There's actually a purge calendar on the resources page that you can see, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But well over a year, 90% of the time on all this stuff. So we pound it. Have you noticed BlackRock buyouts in this arena buying properties that are in foreclosure? Julie, all of them are. Not just BlackRock. There are a ton of institutional buyers. I think I brought this up in a previous webinar. Horry County, South Carolina. And this is a point I need to make too to you guys. Okay, to give you an idea, because everybody goes, how many flips could possibly be available, right? How many flips could be available out there right now? Because it's such a hot market, people could put it on the market and sell it in a heartbeat, but they don't. Horry County, South Carolina recently had a sale, I believe it was December or January, tax sale. Over 1,000 properties hit the market and sold. Now, here's how that went, because my buddy went to that. He said, literally, you had a bunch of locals, and then you had 3 or 4 guys from banks, right? And BlackRock. Sorry, that's my dogs. And that type of thing. So what happened was these guys went in, and then you got the local going, okay, I'm going to bid 7,500. I'm going to bid 7,500. And then another guy goes, all right, I'm going to bid 10,000. And then one of the guys from BlackRock or some of the other institutional investors goes 120 grand. And it's over. And this happened through about 800 of the 1,000 properties. properties. So yeah, there's a lot of that. That's why we buy pre-foreclosure, Julie. We don't want to mess with that. Hello, Mark. Chris, no, I was wondering if y'all have an elite inner circle meeting this year. Actually, Chris, I'm going to put a couple of specialty videos up on that instead. That's how I think I'm going to treat that. Because and honestly, it's just because we haven't had the kind of people coming out that we needed to make the meeting worthwhile on that. T. Lewis, sorry, son, I've been a member for quite a while, but have not been able to start working the program due to COVID. Hey, man, jump in. There's no expiration date on it. The only program we ever took on was the original traditional surplus funds, which required people. This is back before we allowed people to do submissions, doing the work online. Okay, that program required people to actually go into the courthouse. So what happened was when we launched the new one, the National Surplus Funds Program, everybody bought that and started working that. And we waited 3 years from when we had switched over, still ready to provide support and to take anything anybody turned in from the traditional surplus funds program, no turn-ins for 3 years. That's when we said, okay, pretty much anybody that's going to work it is already working it on the national side, national surplus side. That is the only program we've ever shut down. Just shut it down because we're like, there's no point. And why? Why would anybody work that when they can work national and go in person? Rick, you're right about construction delays. I have a client who's building a new home. It has been delayed 3 additional months. Rick, they're trying to ride the downturn in materials costs. That's exactly what they're doing. That's part of it. The other thing is it's a little harder for them to find contractors at reasonable costs now or reasonable prices. You're actually having some of these main contractors, I kid you not, training their own subs on a lot of things. The guys that have been around for 50 years that can do everything, they're training their own subs because they can't afford to call the guys that have a history and know what they're doing. Mark, I'm thinking about getting on board with this program. Fantastic. Mark, whatever you do, oh, sorry, Rick's thing just popped up. But Mark, whatever you do yourself a favor, pull down the file handout that comes with this. Now, I get a lot of questions about what should I get. You could certainly start with the National Surplus Funds Program, teach you how to do it on your own, or you can be a researcher, just research debt and ownership as it stood the day of the sale, turn it in, and we take it from there. We skip trace, find the people, put it together, give you 8% of the gross when we successfully get the money out. The other one is Premier 16. We give 16% of the gross, the amount that's held by the court, when we get the money out. But that one requires you also find the people, call them, and have a warm conversation. If you can afford it, bottom line is the higher price the price is on a particular bundle that we offer on that products page on the website. The link is in the handout. The higher that the cost of the bundle, the less it costs per program. We're basically rewarding people for trusting us, right? So obviously the Diamond's the best deal, but it's $2,300. National Surplus by itself is fine to get started, teach you how to do it on your own, gives you the 8% option. That's $497. What would I do if I could afford it? At least the gold bundle or the best of the best, just because having a lot of different options helps. And guys, being able to use the flip side and the surplus side at the same time is awesome. Because if you go after a flip tax deed sale, you send it into us, we're trying to put it under contract. Even if we don't put it together, well, what happens? You've already researched the debt, right? And we have eliminated all the wrong phone numbers and addresses. We might have even had a conversation with these guys. And then when it hits the sale and you can see the sales price, you're going to know what the surplus funds amount is. You can return it in as a surplus. We're getting 2 shots at the same deal. And again, we may have even created a relationship with that person prior. So there's benefits. There's a synergy there working both. You certainly don't need to. I'm not trying to upsell you or anything. I'm just telling you the benefits of why we offer the bundles. All right. Chris, also, I'm sitting on over 500K, really needing to deploy some capital. I hear you. Guys, let's see here. August, Chris, that's when I'm probably going to need to take a draw because the average surplus has gone up so much that the 10% of that is a lot of money. I'll probably be looking for additional draws at that point. So I know you probably sent me the information already for you. I will get in touch with you on that. Fonita, okay. Kathy, hi, can you share with us a sample of postcards you send to the claimants? That's right on your program, Kathy. It is right in there. If you go to, I think it's actually an ebook, National Surplus or Premier 16, If not, if you click on the page, the resources page that comes with the ebook, if you click on that, there'll be an example there. What's the best way to get started? T. Lewis. This is a gentleman that had COVID-related issues. Hey, man, just read the ebook twice. I'm starting to say that a lot now because we're having a problem with people they're skimming, and it's not going to work. We didn't fluff up anything in the ebooks, guys. It's only, what, 50, 60 pages, most of the ebooks. Concentrate on one if you have a bundle at first, right? Learn one first. Read it twice so you get comprehension. It's step by step. Then, after you've read that, click the link and watch the videos. Honestly, I wouldn't do that until you're actually going through the steps and you want some other background information to do that by, okay? What are you planning to talk about 1T, Julie? Julie, what are you planning on talking about in the time flipping bootcamp? That's for folks that bought the time flipping. It's basically a question and answer in the bootcamp. It's something to go over. There is one item, I think, in the book where we had put a different dollar amount than we should have as far as as an example. In one of the examples, I put the wrong dollar amount as far as the net. There was still a heck of a net, but we caught that later. Other than that, a little bit of update on some of the feedback I've gotten, and then address any questions as they come up. Narendra, when working excess proceeds, tax overages. By the way, Narendra, we do mortgage too. Work whichever you get. And I see the name. I recognize the name. Does it matter if the state is tax sale or tax deed or both? If so, how one should approach, and is it easy as Googling? Narendra, that's in your ebook. It is as easily as Googling. As far as a tax sale or tax deed sale, I'm assuming that's what you meant. Those are the same thing. What you don't want to do is get a list of upcoming tax liens for sale, because tax liens are when investors have bought the debt from the county. It hasn't foreclosed yet, changed hands, so there is no overage to date. If you really take your time, Narendra, I'm not giving you a hard time, really. If you really take your time and read that book slowly for comprehension, you'll get it, because it'll say, hey, here's what you do. I give you actual examples of what to plug into a Google search. I also tell you, if you want to buy lists, you can. Bottom line, though, the Google searches work great. I just haven't had an issue with that. Most of the counties actually do publish it. Another thing is we've got a couple of guys that have done really crazy well because they actually use the script we put in there to email clerks or whoever holds the tax sale in a particular county, email them requesting for that, and they're getting the results from that. And those are lists that are not easily available online. So they're having a great amount of success with that too. Kenneth, when calling the court for confirmation of surplus funds, occasionally I get the idea they're telling me the money is there because that's what I want to hear. What if they're just trying to get me off the phone? Well, Kenneth, if they tell you, hey, it's there, that's our problem at that point. We'll have the attorney double check it. And also, I believe, and Jeff, please step in if this is wrong, but if you can verify that it's an updated list and it's very recent, we're okay with that too. Really recent, okay? Not a year old. Mark, I'm on a low income, so I think go with the first one, your national, and see how it goes. Mark, I think that's a great plan. That's a great way to go. Rocco, I purchased the program New Year's Day. I need to get help starting out, and I have some questions as well. Okay, Rocco, I'm going to say this again. I know I'm sounding like a broken record. Read the ebook, because not only is it step by step, especially if it's the national surplus or the national deed flip, not only is it step by step, but it tells you, guys, support's built in. You can open up a support ticket, and Jeff gets back. He has 3 business days, but he usually gets back in 1. I'm not going to pin him down to 1 business day, but he's very quick at getting back with support questions. It's a ticket-based system that's outlined in the ebook. It's very easy to access, and use that. Reach out and ask for help in that, okay? David, just to be clear on the nationals, it's not national, the Surplus 50/50 program, that was the one that we launched January 1st. So yeah, Rocco, if that was yours too. As we present a structured buyout, say for a 45K overage for the upfront 10% piece, we discuss, would that be 4,500, which is 10% of the entire overage? Yes. When I'm working with a claimant, I will give them 10% of the gross amount being held upfront, and then the rest of whatever we agree to on the back end. So yeah, I give them that. I got a $145,000 deal right now. I'm going to have to send a check out in a couple of days for 14.5. Or with 10%, we should communicate 22. Oh, It's 10% of the gross, David. And use the script as written, please. You're not a member of our company. You're not an employee. You know how it's written. We have an affiliate company that'll give you 10% up front and more, of course, later. I'm looking for an overage program. Do you offer this? Yeah, Albert, surplusfundsriches.net. Click on products. You can also take that file, download, pull it down. We have a number of different programs. Click on products, put your name, email, and phone number in. It'll drop you on the products page. Okay. And on there at the bottom, if you scroll down, there's an insider guide that tells you about all of our different programs. We have 2 available right now by themselves, the National Surplus and the Premier 16. They both teach you how to do it on your own. They both also give you the option of partnering with us. The National Surplus gives you 8% of gross when you get the money out. If you just research the debt, fill out a worksheet, turn it in with copies of the deeds, we take it from there. We skip trace, find the people, put the deal together, hire the attorney and the mobile notary. The Premier 16 pays you 16% of gross, but double the money, double the work. In addition to researching the debt, you also have to find the people, skip tracing, and have a warm conversation to make sure they're willing to speak with us. We still do the negotiation, hire the attorney, give them 10% buyout up front, and more money later, and take care of the rest of it for you. Norendo, if one bought more than one course, should one independent contractor agreement suffice? Yes. That's all I'm going to need for you. The independent contractor agreement is broad. A couple of things just so you guys understand. The independent contractor agreement does not have a non-compete. You're welcome to go do this on your own. We teach you how to do that in ebooks. But if you decide to work with us as an independent contractor, as a partner, so to speak, that specifies, hey, the percentage that was told to you guys is the percentage we're going to pay you. It protects both of us, obviously, right? So all we're doing is we're looking for information on how to contact you and how to pay you, really. It's got basic, it has those requirements in it. There you go, Kenneth. Jeff jumped on this. Remember, guys, somebody asked me, hey, I'm calling to get information, and I feel like they're lying to me about whether or not the money's there. They're not going to do that, first of all. But Jeff says, look, if it's an updated list dated within the past 60 days, we'll work. You don't have to confirm that the money's still being held, because it's 9 times out of 10 being held. And he agrees, Narendra, just fill out the sub agreement once. Mark, sorry to ask so many questions, but how are taxes done? Okay, no, Mark, that's the whole point of the webinar, asking questions, okay? So how are taxes done? I get this a lot because people feel like I'm going to treat them like an employee. It's your 1099. I send the money straight out to you. I'll send it to you as an individual, send it to you as a company. You don't have to be a company or an LLC or anything else to work with us. However, I've had people start off as an individual and then near the end of the year realize, oh Lord, I need to watch how I'm doing this. And they went and even got like a DBA with a tax identification number associated with it, doing business as, set up a checking account like that. And they're able to write off taxes that way as a kind of a pseudo company. A lot of people ask me what to get. I know a lot of people out there saying to get an LLC. Frankly, I disagree. In most cases, check with your tax pro. But in most cases, I have found a subchapter S works a lot better than an LLC. It's a license to steal from the federal government, basically. You can get away with a lot of things, and you can set up the bylaws exactly how you want, and you don't need multiple members at all to be a part of it. So I like that a lot, but I will send you guys a 1099 at the end of the year. Those of you guys that have companies where I've sent checks out, I don't 1099 you because I'm not required to do that. Of course, I'm going to count it as an expense on my part, but I'm not going to 1099 you. I don't have to 1099 other businesses. Narendra says, thanks, Jeff. That's great. Nita, if I'm getting started with limited resources but excited about advancing, which program should I start with? Also, can you work this through an LLC? Wow. I kind of resenting right now. Okay, right? So yes, you can work with an LLC, any kind of corporate, that's subchapter S, chapter C, whatever you want to do. LLC, DBA, individual, I don't care, however you want to work it. I'm going to address the answer to this like if one of my kids, I've got my third kid is going through college, the other two already graduated. If one of them came to me and said, hey, Dad, thanks for the education. However, I want to work with you. Well, after having a talk with them about that, I would probably have them start up with, and I would make them, believe it or not, I'd make them pay for it because I think people have to have skin in the game, and it costs me to start people up. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. So I would tell them to either get a minimum of either the gold or the best of the best bundle. That's the majority of the highest converting programs we've got. Obviously, the diamond is the best, But if you can afford either the gold, I think that's $997, or the best, which I think is $797 or $850, something like that, I definitely jump on one of those. Norendo, steps outlined in ebook for tax overages applies to mortgage overages too. Yes, with few obvious native reservations. Correct? That's correct. And what he means by that, guys, Norendo, I'm going to just pretend like I know what you mean on that last part. So here's the deal. Mortgage overages, you can work just like tax. We always use attorneys, guys. We think you're silly not to use attorneys. We always use a buyout. That gets us around all the finder caps. And we're getting it out in the claimant's name. Attorneys using their trust account to break the check out, just like a real estate closing. Works fantastic, completely legal, very, very clean. We love doing it that way. The reservations he's talking about, I think, would be, for instance, mortgage overages. You can't get them in every state, a list of them. It is very difficult to get them in California and Texas. Said this before. I can't believe I say those two states in the same sentence. However, California and Texas, it's very difficult to get that list of mortgage overages. You can get tax overages easy. However, mortgages overages are tough because in both states, they allow the foreclosing attorney to administer and disperse the surplus funds, and those attorneys are not going to give you a list of the surplus funds, right? But you can still work tax there. For the pricing, the one in, is that taken off the price already? Raphael, if you go to the products page, the price is the price. So you've got a top section that has individual programs and our bundles. And then you can also, like, for instance, if you wanted to get best the best, but you wanted to add on a different program in addition, like BK Goldmine or something like that, you could add that on for another $125 by clicking the box for the best, and then the BK Goldmine down below. Yeah, there you go. Jeff says, Raphael, the price is shown at the current pricing, including any specials. And we're making great headway tonight. Chris, I just opened an LLC in Wyoming. Is it possible to convert it to an S? No, they're two different filings. But Chris, look, you're going to be fine in LLC. You're going to be fine. Okay. In fact, I think as far as a startup, when you're first getting going, you're not going to have the level of write-ups you do as a subchapter S. Once you kind of grow your business a little bit, you're going to be able to do more write-ups. I'll give you an example of a subchapter S deal that I liked. I purchased my truck, okay, paid it off, but I purchased it individually. I can rent that back to the business, and I do that. I don't have to actually move the money. I can just show that that's the expense that I'm dinging the business for. As a result, that's going to come off of the business income, which is fantastic. And because I'm not going to rent it more to the for more money to the business that it costs me to maintain and keep it up, a couple $100 a month, right? Insurance, all that. It's a wash. It's not counting as income to me. So that's a great little way to do that. One of the other things I like about the subchapter S, and you're fine with an LLC again, but if you're starting to flip property from state to state, one of the key ways to do that, really key, listen carefully, this is a big nugget for you guys tonight. Some of the states cost too much money. Like you registered it in Wyoming. Well, let's say you want to buy property in South Carolina or whatever. Well, wherever you're buying property, if you want to buy it in the company name and sell it in the company name, it has to be registered as a foreign corporation or LLC, however you want to call it. LLCs are considered corporations in that instance anyway. It's considered a foreign corporation. You need to register it and pay the money for that. Well, some states are so ridiculous. I believe the last one I did this in was Tennessee. So ridiculous. I mean, it's like $1,500 a year or whatever just to be able to register a foreign corporation. They are so silly about that what we started to do in those instances is I changed my bylaws that said I, as the president of the company, 100% stockholder, I'm allowed to buy and sell property in my private personal name. The company will indemnify me for any issues that arise as a result of buying and selling that property. And in those states, I'll buy it as an individual and sell it as an individual. Because the flip happens so fast, by the way, talk to your attorney, you don't have to worry about capital gains on that. That's a beautiful thing. Thanks. Good or the best of the best. I'll read those. Fantastic. Kenneth, let's say a surplus fund overage is $50K. You have to get paid. You have to pay attorneys. You have overhead, etc. You have to pay our commission. How much does the ex-owner get? Great question. So Kenneth, attorneys usually run me, I'm getting them down. Some states as little as 5%, but some states as high as, I use a central attorney who takes 3%, and they give it to other attorneys. Sometimes those attorneys charge me 10. So that's 13% to the attorney. Also, I can pay you guys anywhere from 8 to 16%, depending on which program you're using. So it takes me up to 21 to 29. I would say the average is about 25% expenses, not counting the guys behind me, right? I have a payroll that I'm paying, and we're talking about $250,000 a year just on the main crew. That does not include independent contractors I have working for me. Not you guys, but folks that do additional work. But it's over $250,000 a year just for that. Postage alone runs me on average about $2,700 to $3,000 a month just on postage. Gives you an idea what kind of volume we're doing here. We've got phone lines, computers, internet access, Wi-Fi, IDI, skip tracing, microbuild skip tracing. Just insane, all the different white pages premium on top of that. We're printing every single file you turn in. We're putting it into ACT, putting it on the list so you guys have access to see what's already on the list. We also are printing it and making actual hard copy files. We trust no one or nothing, so we do that as well. And we like working it that way. So in most cases, I know this is going around Robin's barn, but they typically make 50 to 60%. If it's 50,000 or so, that's right at kind of the mark where I can jump up to 55, 60%. And then at 100 plus, I'll go even higher. Okay. Which means that on the high ones, I make a much smaller percentage in general. However, it's a smaller percentage of a hell of a lot of money, right? So I hope that answers your question. By the way, we never have an issue with the owners. We're giving them 10% up front. Let's say we'll give them 50 total, 10% up front, 40 on the back end. If they go, well, we'll say, listen, our attorneys are going to run us on average 10 to 13%. Research runs us 8 to 16%. We're going to make on average about 25%. You're going to make 50. You're making double what we do. And we're on the hook for the attorney. Even if we don't get it out, you can keep the good 10% good faith money. Even if we don't get it out, that's how we operate. Now, keep in mind, these guys just lost their property to a foreclosure. Do you think they're broke? Do you think the 10% is a big conversion issue? Do you think that's going to help us and make us a lot more competitive? It does. Or would I need to start from scratch with a new S Corp, Chris? Yeah, I answered that one. Absolutely. Michael, you don't 1099 LLC, S Corp, etc., but you do 1099 individuals. Absolutely, Michael. Absolutely. I don't have to with corporations. I'm expected to with individuals. So yes, I do that. Jim, I love this question. Thank you, Jim. Let me see if I can make this share broadcast. Here we go. All right. For a person with a full-time job, what amount of time and what would your example end of a daily schedule to be moderately successful? Jim, here's the thing. I know there are guys out there, I'm so glad you asked me this question, that are telling people, quit your job, jump into this, you're going to be a millionaire in a year. Look, there's a couple of different skill sets you're going to have to learn to be good at this. You have a job right now that's bringing you in income, possibly also has benefits. Keep it. Work this on the side. That's how people usually start, as a side hustle. Work this on the side, okay? Put in whatever you can put in. People ask me all the time, what's expected? Now, you're an independent contractor. Do whatever you want to do, okay? I've seen people make great money as a researcher starting out 3 to 5 hours a week. Seriously, especially with the national surplus because you're not having to find and call the people. Also with the deed flip, again, there's a benefit to the bundles because you have different ways of going after property. Excuse me. And both are going to do extremely well over the next year. So I would say 3 to 5 hours a week minimum. Just be consistent. I have people all the time that turn in 3 to 5 files and stop and go, well, I'm just going to see if I get paid. Well, hey, look, some of those some people have died. Things happen. You can't, you don't know what the percentage is going to be overall. You just don't. There's too many variables involved. So turning in 3 to 5, that's not going to be enough. You need to keep working that pipeline and turning stuff in. The key is consistency. I would much rather have a ton of good swimmers that turn in 5 a week than I would to have the guys that are going to flame out, turn in 20 a day for 4 days, and then sit back. Just keep your pipeline filled. Keep it going. We've already gone over the fact that we're going to work this stuff for quite a while. Take your time. and work it as a side hustle at first. That's what most of the guys out there should be telling you. And that's what we tell people all the time. Sort of like that. Kenneth, why don't they get it on their own? Ah, that is a very good question. So, Kenneth, it depends on the state. Some states actually require an attorney to motion. North Carolina is one of them, by the way, to motion to get the funds out. It's that simple. A lot of states have claim forms you can do as well. However, the last time that these people dealt with the court system, they lost their house. Okay. We're going to use an attorney. They're not. Okay. Hey, are they required to every time? Absolutely not. And we tell them that. But we're using an attorney and I'm getting 10% of the money into their pocket it's usually within 10 business days. Okay. During that 10 business days, what I'm doing is I'm sending a copy of all those contracts to the attorney and he's double checking the title work that you guys did to make sure there isn't additional debt, make sure what you did was right. And to also check for things like IRS tax liens, things you couldn't have checked for. And then they give me the thumbs up and I release that 10% up front. It's a good question, Kenneth. Most of the time, they don't know about it, honestly. They don't. Usually, the county will send notification. It's usually the county to the last known address. That last known address is the foreclosure address. That gets returned. They don't care. By the way, it's usually not the counties that are bad guys here, right? They're just doing what they're told by the state. Usually, it is the state that's the bad guy. The state is the one that wants to hold on to the funds, so they don't really make much of an effort to get that money back. I keep hearing of a redemption period properties. What is that? So, Saul, redemption, there's two types of redemption. Great question. There's two types of redemption. Usually you want to deal with this when you're looking at flipping, okay? But there's two types of redemption out there. Redemption means paying off the taxes. Usually if there's a state that has a redemption period, there's two types of redemption periods. Pre-sale redemption. In other words, right up to the last minute, the owner can pay off the taxes or whatever's past due and get the property back and it comes off the foreclosure block. That's pre-sale. Other ones are post-sale redemption, and sometimes those are really fast. For instance, Florida says they have a post-sale redemption period, but it's only until the deed's recorded, which is usually a matter of a couple of days after the foreclosure. So it's kind of silly to even say and talk about it. Then you got places like Texas, Georgia, and some other ones where it can be 6 months, a year, whatever. The owner can still come back. Now, sometimes they have to pay off the taxes to get the property back. And guys, it just doesn't happen hardly ever. Simply because if they had the money to do it, they would have done it, right? But either they pay off the taxes, or in some states you have to actually refund the high bidder, and then some money's returned to you. It's kind of wacky, but that's what redemption. Redemption is paying off the past due amount. Usually it's taxes. Okay, and again, pre and post sale, two different kinds. Pre-sale just means they paid it off before the foreclosure hit. That's all. Pre-sale redemption. David. Hi, Sean. Regarding saturation, I think you've said there's no issue. That's correct. Is that just with the surplus, or is that with the other surplus program out there as well? I think you mean the deed flip, David. All the surplus programs are predicated on the same basis, the same methodology, pretty much. So it's just a difference on how much work you do if you want to partner with us. So those, there's no saturation at all with those. Deed flip, there's absolutely none either. Good Lord, guys, pull up upcoming tax deed sales and prepare to scroll for a good hour through all the counties that are selling properties, because they're still behind on their budgets thanks to COVID. They pulled all these sales off trying to be nice, but they haven't been able to meet their budgets because they haven't been foreclosing on property that was past due on taxes. Now they're doing it like gangbusters. And that's another reason why the next couple of years we're going to see a lot of that. Mark, question. I live in Tennessee. How are these programs on paying? So how they are on these programs on paying. Okay. So Tennessee is a little wacky. Most of the county, not most, about half the counties in Tennessee actually require that you live in the state in order to get a list. It's weird. You got to show a valid driver's license in Tennessee, but the other half don't. Tennessee is really easy to work. It's about a month to get a hold of people, get them to send our contract back. A month at that point for our attorney. We got a great attorney there. Handles the whole state for us. A month for them to get in front of the, I think it's not the magistrate, but the master clerk or something like that out there. And at that point, it's usually a month for the check to be cut. But again, guys, don't get caught up in just working your local area. It doesn't matter where you live, right? The only states we won't take it from if you're going to partner with us are Colorado, Oregon, and Washington State. Florida's a different program with us because it's such different. The statutes are so different down there. That's only available in bundles, obviously, because it's one state. We don't want to crisp up one state. Um, Robert, with the surplus funds program, you mentioned sometimes taking up to a year or more to actually find the client and get them under contract. What other program has faster? That's not what I said, Robert. I said we will work it for over a year. The majority of people we find and get in contact with in as little as a week, and the average time for getting them under contract is a month after it's turned in. So you completely misread that answer. I'm glad you asked because I'm hoping other people didn't think that too. That it takes us a year to get something under contract. That's absolutely not true. I mean, we've had some that were that old that called back out of the blue. But no, I was saying that we'll continue to work them that long. Nita, do you or does your program advise on the states that are best to start in and how to leverage different programs at the same time, consecutively, like you mentioned earlier? I'm not scared of hard work and I like working smart as well. Good for you, Nita. So basically, I have told this multiple times. There's a couple of states. Obviously, we're not going to work Oregon, Washington State, or Colorado. California is a little more difficult to work simply because they have only once a year tax sales, and we have to wait a full year from when the tax sale happened in order to make a claim on the surplus. It's kind of ridiculous. So obviously, I don't like giving them 10% up front and having to wait a year. We wait until it's a couple months out before we'll actually hit those. Also, California, many of the counties can also charge a lot of money for use the Register of Deeds Department to research debt. So as a result, it's a little more difficult to work California. I don't advise it. Okay. North Carolina's got some wacky stuff going on, but the main issue with North Carolina is their delays because the only list we can get is a list of tax and mortgage overages once they've been sent to the state. At that point, the state has it, so we still motion at the county level, but the county has to tap on the shoulder of the state, say, hey, we granted this claim, send it back, and the state takes their time sending it back. There's a lot of different issues, not issues, but interesting intricacies with different states, let's say. Okay. So, for instance, Georgia, really easy to get tax sale lists, but you have to pay to actually access the majority of the county's Register of Deeds departments. Not a lot of money. It's $25 a month, but nobody wants to work it because it's $25 a month. Well, guess what? Wherever you see a barrier like that, that's opportunity because other people, oh, I'm not going to spend $25 a month. Put the latte down already and spend the $25 a month. Nobody else is working it. That is opportunity. Okay. Remember, most people are cheapskates. Most people have not had businesses. They don't understand that sometimes there's a little cost involved to some things, especially if you're going after easier, right? Lower hanging fruit, stuff that's easier to work because other people won't. Real important. Other than that, New York State has been difficult as far as the list being accurate. That's the problem I have with them. Texas is easy to get tax lists. Arizona is pretty competitive, guys, especially Maricopa, because if you put in surplus funds list or excess proceeds list, they are going to really, first of all, Maricopa is going to own the first page of your Google search. So everyone on the planet is working Maricopa County, Arizona. So it's going to be less, you're going to have a less chance of putting a deal together because you got 100 guys buying you. Probably not that many, but maybe 5 or 10 companies calling at the same time. It's rougher to work. Connecticut has some, the only issue with Connecticut is I believe we have 2 months to get it. One more state I'll bring up is Michigan. Michigan used to not give back tax overages from tax sales. There was a recent court case that said they had to. However, the way they work that is most of the counties have the sale in February and then February or March, and they limit the claim time is about 2 months. It's, well, usually by the beginning or end of June, you're cut off. You can't make a claim on the money anymore. So Michigan was like, okay, fine, we'll pay you back for 2 months. And they're not even going to try to reach the people. It's kind of a joke. The rest of it's fairly easy. Raphael, is there a time limit to claim the surplus before it is lost or cannot be paid to the owner? Man, I'm like answering questions right before stuff. Like I said, Connecticut has a very short time period. I think it's 6 months though. I don't think it's 2. Michigan has 2 to 3 month period, something like that, maybe 4, depending on when they actually foreclosed on it. Yes, some states have like a twilight law as far as how long in you can claim it. Not all of them, though. A lot of them allow you to claim for a very, very long time. I know North Carolina allows you to claim in perpetuity forever. Gina, great question. What are the best sources for skip tracing? Before I do that, Gina, I'm sorry. There's somebody used the question and answer section, which I was telling people not to do. Do I need to call and find out for each person if there are other liens on the property? No, we'll do that for you. Um, because I was told to do title searches to make sure the excess funds don't belong to someone else. Yeah, you do title searches, Saul, to make sure wasn't a creditor, mortgage, or lien in the way, right? As far as the rest of it, we tech judgments for you. Could you provide the web address for the surplus program? Presenter went too fast. Well, first of all, Albert, download the file. There's a file that you can download here. It's a handout. Download that. But it is surplusfundsriches.net. Surplusfundsriches.net. 3 words. Funds is plural. Surplusfundsriches.net. That's when it's really easy to use. I'm glad I checked the Q&A. Back to you, Gina. What are the best sources for skip tracing? I know I'm going fast, guys, but I'm getting really good questions, and we try to cut this off in an hour. So, by the way, if you're thinking about a question and you're tentative, look, I mean, it's private, right? Nobody's going to see who's asking the question. But besides that, at about 8:25, we usually cut it off for the last 5 minutes because there's this slurry. There's just a ton of people turning in questions, and we usually cut it off at 8:30. So if you got questions, ask them, guys. Don't be shy, for goodness sake. Gina, what are the best sources for skip tracing? All right, let me go ahead and broadcast that. So the best sources for skip tracing, Gina, are, in my opinion, TLO is very, very, very good. Okay. However, they've gotten really tough on who they're going to allow to get that. Okay. If you tell them you're going to do an asset recovery or surplus funds, they're not even going to give it to you. I've seen people have a good luck getting that program, saying they're doing judgment recovery, which is very similar to what we do. And there's kind of that could be justified as an answer. However, IDI data is our number one go-to. IDIDATA, right? IDIData.com. I don't have a contact there for you, but definitely double check that. It's a great place. That's our first one for finding the claimant directly. They'll also give you possible relatives and associates, which is great. However, the secondary system we use is MicroBilt, MICRO, micro, built, no U, BILT, microbilt.com. Talk to, this may be in the handout, I'm not sure. Talk to a gentleman, and you guys are going to get notice of the replay on this, okay? And also be on our YouTube channel. But talk to Randy Mostetler. That's who it is. Go to microbilt.com, call that toll-free number, ask for Randy Mostetler, say you're working with Sean Bougie or Greater Good Company that I referred you. They will waive your startup fee, which is $200. They are going to do an in-person check of your area because they're giving you access to a lot of information. They're going to check that you got an office space that has either a computer with a password on it or a locking drawer if you're printing stuff out. And they're going to want you to have an account in a business name, even if it's a DBA. It doesn't have to be an actual business. It could be a doing business as. You have to have an account in that in the United States. But they're our second one because they're really good at finding possible relatives and associates. Okay. The third one that we like, and this is going to shock a lot of you guys, works better on the flipping side than on surplus, but it still works on surplus. And that is White Pages Premium. That is a really big deal because of the reverse lookup on there by address. Not only, hear me out, not only because it's a great way to find individuals, okay, like the claimants, but it's also a great way. A lot of times, believe it or not, this property was rented out at the time of the foreclosure. And people are allowed to charge rent while it's going into foreclosure. Okay. But anyway, it was rented out, and those renters are still in there. And you call the person that's at that address, if it's a different name, they'll be able to tell you the owner's name. Now, I'll offer them, honestly, say, look, if I put a deal together with this guy, we're trying to return some money to him. If I put a deal together, I'll give you $100, and they'll give you the name all day long. Plus, they're happy to let you call the owner because sometimes they haven't been told about the impending foreclosure and they're a little angry with the owner and they're happy to give you the phone number. Honestly, I'm just telling you the way it is. So, DJ, do you have experience collecting surpluses from Idaho? DJ, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know. We've done darn near every state. However, Idaho, I can't say for certain that we have, but one of the things I want to reiterate again is this is an online from home system. Don't get caught up in work in your local area, please. People do it all the time. Please help me get a list too. No, there are thousands of lists out there. Go get a list wherever you can get a list. Don't worry about working in your local area. Sorry, I didn't have an answer for you, DJ. I don't remember every single state we've done. We've been doing this a long time. Connecticut requires the use of an attorney. There you go, Tara. North Carolina, a bunch of states do. But you seem to be saying that whether or not the state itself requires one, we should always use an attorney. Did I interpret that correctly? Yeah, Tara, for two reasons. One, you're getting it out in the claimant name, and they're using their trust account to break the check out. Secondly, they're signing a buyout agreement, a structured buyout agreement, right? Where they're getting 10% up front and more later. They're also signing a power of attorney to the attorney. They will never go around you, ever, because they're on the hook with the attorney there, and the attorney's involved. They're not going to try to, for lack of a better word, screw an attorney. So that's another reason why you do it. Plus, the court tends to pay more attention when you use an attorney, regardless of if it's just filling out a form, and they tend to cut the checks faster. I was writing my question and missed the surplus funds resource you mentioned. Oh, there's a resources page. When you buy the program, you get a PDF, which is a step by step and no fluff, straight through. Then that has a link with a password to a resources page that you can access that has additional video training, the independent contractor agreement. It also has our active files list. So the first thing people do if they're going to be a researcher for us, they go get a list, take the names off that list, search our active files list to make sure we don't already have it. No, we don't have a saturation issue, but it's nice that we're that transparent and that gets updated at least 3 times a week. So that's something you can check and make sure that we're not already working it. That's nice before you do any work. It also has additional information on it. The referrals page is on there. Again, the independent contractor agreement that you signed that protects us both is on there. Information about support is on there. Everything is covered. Support has 3 business days to get back. Jeff usually gets back within 1. It has a submission system on it. Everything you need. Trying to buy national surplus funds, but it's not letting me go to the payment. You can send the answer via my email. No, Mark, it's really easy, guys. At the top, you got to take your time on the products page. On the top, you agree to terms and conditions first and put your information in. And then you click the box of what you want. And then if you want any add-ons, click that box and then hit submit. Pretty self-explanatory. But then you hit submit, and then it'll drop you on. PayPal is our transaction manager, but they will take any credit or debit card. If you have a PayPal account, yes, I know it occasionally tries to make you use PayPal, but it gives you the option to check out as a guest. So it's pretty straightforward, and they are bulletproof. There's not an issue with, believe me, we've never had an issue where they were down. We've had issues where we screwed up a link, but it's fine. It's working great. We've already had a sale or 2 today. I'm not worried about that. Just take your time reading through it. Will you repost the handout? Gina, it's on there right now. I can see it. You can click on that and download it. Ralston, I am having problem finding an owner still occupying properties. Many absentee owners. Any tips? Well, Ralston, it's not hard to find them even if they're not occupying. I think you're thinking about the deed flips scenario. If that, besides what I mentioned earlier, which is if they're absentee owners and there's renters, use White Pages Premium. Use the reverse lookup system by address. That'll give you usually the name and number of the guy that's living there that's the renter, and they'll give you their name easy. But the other thing is 2 things. One, whenever you read a deed, read it carefully. So the deed will tell you notification address for the new owner, the person that owned it right now, right? So that'll show you that notification address. Sometimes that notification address is different than the address where the property is. Usually that's an indicator that the people are not going to be living in the property. Another place you can check is and this is in the books, is the tax assessor's office or appraiser's office. If they have a different address in there than the physical site address, also called the situs address, where the property is actually located. If they have a different address, often that's another way to go after to finding the owner. Obviously, using skip tracing systems is the ultimate. We, again, so what we do is when we send out postcards or letters, we send them not only to the claimant, but also their possible relatives and associates, but we address it to the claimant. So the sister's going to get it addressed to the brother. And here's the thing. A lot of times there's a gatekeeper, Aunt May, that wants to call back and say, hey, wrong address. Oh, no problem. Where can we find him at? What's the phone number? Thank you very much. And they'll tell you that there's always somebody wants to be in the middle of somebody else's business. Wow, Dennis, I signed up nearly 5 years ago and unfortunately got ill with cancer. I'm sorry to hear that, Dennis. Would you like to start up now? Would like to start up now that I can. I currently don't have records of the purchase. What information from me would you like to have to confirm the purchase was made and what was purchased? Dennis, go to surplusfundsriches.net, click on Contact Us, and reiterate this to me, what you just said to me, and I'll get back with you. Now, listen, if it was the traditional surplus, it was like 2014 or something like that. Jeff can correct me on that. But if it was the traditional surplus, let me make this big here. Here we go. If it was the traditional surplus program, okay, we don't do that anymore. So if it's older than that, we're not working it. I can usually find stuff up to 2 years old purchases. Occasionally I get lucky. So send me an email. Use the Contact Us. There's an email form on there you can fill out. I'll look at that as fast as I can. Probably tomorrow, but I'll look at that as fast as I can and get back to you. The current programs and specials and pricing, they're good through the end of today, easy. Midnight Eastern time, okay, is on this link. Jeff just put it on there for you. I hope you guys can see that. I got somebody using the question yet. Guys, please don't use the question yet. Oh, it's Albert. Tell me thank you. You're welcome, Albert. Sorry about that. Always use chat if you can. I can't get rid of this question and answer thing on there. I don't know what that's about. Great. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed in here. Oh, I don't feel like I mentioned, I addressed you. I've got a little bit of time here, Anita. Do you or does your program advise on the states that are best to start in and how to leverage different programs at the same time? As far as leveraging different programs at the same time, using any of the flipping programs in conjunction with the surplus funds, sorry, Anita, in conjunction with the surplus funds program works extremely well. In addition, there's certain bundles that have programs where that's pretty much the only way you can get it unless it's as an add-on. And I like those a lot. The best really is a great starter. You can start with as low as the national surplus, but best of the best is a great starter bundle. The gold is wonderful, and of course, guys, if you can afford it, get the diamonds. There's never been a better deal than that. It even includes a voucher, so that if we come out with a new program, we usually do January 1st because that's half of our year. We're working on new ways to make this stuff work, come out with new and exciting ways to do this. That voucher, when you buy the diamond, also allows you to get the new program for free at the beginning of the year if you turn that voucher on, turn it in at the date of the sale. And that's a big deal, right? All right, so it looks like I've answered all the questions. Another thing I want to cover real quick, guys, and this is all over the internet, all over my videos. If you guys have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. Go to youtube.com. Mr. Deed Flip, all one word, MR, M as in Mary, R as in Randy, whatever. Deed Flip, DEEDFLIP. Mr. Deed Flip is our channel. Go to there and subscribe to the channel. You'll get updates all quickly. Also, those of you guys that have gone, this is in the handout as well, to the surplusfundsriches.net, if you would do us a favor, okay? If you go to the surplusfundsriches.net, okay, you can also check out our Facebook page, and we launch stuff there that is not available anywhere else. Also, a lot of you guys have missed this. Surplusfundsriches.net. If you click webinars, most of the upcoming webinars are there. Now, right now, there's not anything recent coming up. The next week, you'll see 2 weeks from now, there's going to be a webinar. 2 weeks after that. We usually load 2 at a time, but always check that. And always check your resources pages too. I think, let me check chat. I think we're pretty much done, guys. Here's what I want to say. My phone number is all over our YouTube channel. My phone number is all over our webpage, our website. You can also call me 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with pre-purchase, not post-purchase. Jeff handles that through the support system, but with pre-purchase questions. Call me. It's my direct, I'm not kidding you. It's my direct cell phone, 704-791-9398. 9398. 704-791-9398. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you didn't catch that, go to the site, surplusfundsriches.net. My phone number is right on there. Guys, I appreciate everybody coming out, and I hope you have a great night.